Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the live stream lesson. Today we're gonna be looking at Gavotte from Suzuki book number 2. So first, let's take a listen to how the song goes. Alright, ready? Excellent. This piece is a little bit long, so you have to build up your endurance as well. That's one of the key things about this piece. But first, let's take a look at all the notes and how it's phrased. And then once we start looking at the whole piece, I'll explain a lot of what the other things are written on the music. So, alright, let's start with the first section. So the notes are pretty straightforward. So let's just play through the notes very slowly. Don't worry about the dots on top of the notes just quite yet. I'll explain those in a bit. So let's just read through the notes and play through it very slowly. So let's go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, well, it's in cut time, but I'll count in 4. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 1. So for just to let you know, those small notes, these guys here, that one, and here, those are called grace notes. So what you're going to do is you're gonna play really fast, and you're basically playing like that, but much faster. Kind of like doing a really fast slur. So that's the first one. The second one is F sharp and G. So that's all you need to know for now. Alright, let's do it slowly. 1 and 2 and ready, go, and rest and rest and rest and rest. Alright, so those are the notes. Really simple notes. So I'm gonna now explain how to play those dots up here. You can see the tiny dots on top of the notes instead of on the side like we have seen before. Now they're on top of the notes. So when you see the dots on top of the notes, those are called staccatos. Staccato simply means play the note shorter than what's written. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to work on what we call articulation. Articulation, you can think of how we use the bow. So if we want to make shorter sounds here, especially when we're playing it slowly, what I would like for you to focus is making this gritty sound with your bow in the beginning. So what you're going to do is you're going to place your bow and kind of sink in, and then you can hear that gritty sound. It's ugly, yes, but that's the sound we need to be able to make. So that's step number 1, right? Just make that gritty sound, be able to make that gritty sound. Second is once you're able to do that, you only put enough pressure so you can slightly wiggle the string, but without making that sound. So try and wiggle the string like this. Keep the pressure here. And what you're going to do is release that pressure, and you're gonna hear that click like that. So if you keep on to the pressure, it's gonna make that gritty sound like that. So what you want to do is put pressure in the beginning of this, and then once you hear that sound, that gritty sound, relax your hand like that. So that's when you do it down bow. Down bow is a little bit easier. Up bow is the same idea. You have to I would start in the middle. Same thing. Be able to make that sound and then ease off enough to be able to wiggle the string. And then you can see how my bow hand is tilting like this, inward. And then same thing. So once you start feeling that, relax your hand and move the bow. So this is really important idea in playing the cello. That's how we get good sounds, and that's how we also release the tension that builds up in our bow hand. We'll talk more about that eventually. So basically, that's what we're going to be doing for all of the staccato. So we do that, and then stop the bow, prepare for the next one, stop, 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 wiggle, and and then same thing, stop, prepare, stop, try and get that gritty sound, prepare, stop, stop, and the second line, same thing, prepare, prepare, prepare. And it's okay if you make hit other strings. We're trying to get used to making this gritty sound, getting a grip on the string, and then releasing our hand and moving the bow. And then here, there's no staccatos here, right? There's no dots on top of on top or bottom of the notes. What we're going to do is play them normally. Extension, and here extension, it's on the C string. So something to remember is when you play on the C string, try and raise your elbow a little bit. Still maintain your wrist flat. Don't be curving like this. Just reach over. Just raise your elbow and kind of imagine you're giving someone a hug, right? So just reach over like this. So and all right. So that's what we're going to be focusing on in this piece. The bow, the clicky sound, and putting pressure and relaxing our hand. Not dropping the bow, obviously, but that's the main focus of this piece. The notes are very simple, and then the 16th notes, it's a little bit tricky. I'll explain those as well. But really, it's this piece is about bow control. Okay, so let's move on. There's a repeat. So normally when we play, we're going to be repeating this. Just an FYI. All right, let's go on. So the next phrase is this guy. So same deal. Let's just play through the notes, normal. Let's just figure it out first. And then we'll add the articulations, the clicky sound and all that, what we just worked on. All right, ready? Slowly, let's just read the notes. 1 and 2 and ready, go, and one and 2 and 3 and rest, and one and 2 and 3 and 4 and really this part is tricky for the left hand a little bit because we're skipping the notes. But just take your time learning the notes. It's part of the C major scale, so the notes aren't too difficult. All right, now let's do it with the articulation. Ready? All right, so prepare your bow. We're gonna start on open D. Another note, try to be closer to this part of the bow where the silver wrapping is, or whatever you have here, a little bit above. It's a little bit easier to control the bow there. So let's start. D, F, keep on going, prepare, wiggle, and then here we're gonna start the same way, but don't stop the bow. So stop, stop, stop. So of course we're gonna stop in between the notes, but we're gonna try and make the bow make longer strokes with the bow. Okay. All right. Next section. E, stop, wiggle, get that gritty sound. F. Prepare, long, prepare, rest. Last line. Stop, 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 stop. Get the grip, and rest. Prepare, fourth finger G and E on the B on the G strings, third finger. All right. So the reason why we practice it like that, and we only do this when we play slowly at this tempo, right? We're actually kind of ignoring the rhythm. So the reason why we do that is just to get in the habit of preparing our bow and feeling that the start of the notes, right? So a little bit faster, it sounds like. You can still hear the beginnings, right? The clicks. And sorry. Of course, I'm doing this very harsh, kind of hard, but that's to show you guys what it sounds like, what it feels like. And then once you get used to it, you start relaxing more and more. And once you start playing a little bit faster, you're not actually going to be stopping the bow. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be kind of feeling the bow pressure. You're kind of gonna pinch your fingers like this, or feel like you're tilting the bow down like this, right? Down on the string. All right, so take your time practicing the bow articulations in the first two sections. All right, now let's take a look at the next set line. Sorry, went too far. Here. So the first part, let's just read the first two measures. Really not too difficult. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. Rest. All right, so be careful with the string crossing here. Make sure your fourth finger is either making a tunnel or you lift up in time. I would keep your fourth finger. Yeah, just lift it up in time. And then C. Here it gets a little bit tricky. Let's just read the notes first. So, and ignore the bowing. We're gonna play all the notes separately. So, first note, these are the 16th notes. So E, G, F sharp with third finger, G, A, G, F natural with second finger, D, alright, so this part, this is how you should practice. First, practice it like that, slowly. Just so you get used to moving your fingers like that. And what you're going to do next is bow it 2 at a time. So like... And go slow as possible, or sorry, as fast as possible at a slow tempo, that you can play all the notes correctly and you feel comfortable and you're not freaking out, right? So that's 2 per bow, and now let's do how it's written. So alright, so that's how you have to play. One thing to know, when you play the A string, try not to overshoot every, like your elbow and everything. What you can do is just kind of throw up your elbow, oh you can't see it, you throw up your wrist up a little bit, like that. Kind of make a dive like this, kind of just flick your wrist up a little bit like this. That way it's gonna play the A string. You can play the A string without moving all of your right arm, right? So you can practice that, just the G and A. G down bow, up bow. You can do that too, because you have to go back, right? And here it's important to have the pinky make a tunnel. Really, the tricky part is the bow. The finger is not too bad. If you think the finger is giving you trouble, just take out the slurs, so. And try and play it fast, because but the thing is, if you do it slurred, I would keep your pinky down. So, dot, 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 dot. Let's play it slowly, that first line. Just the first line. 1 and 2 and ready, go, and... 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and the 4 E and the... So that's how you can practice this part. Notice how I counted the 16th notes before I played them, right? So in the C, D, D, I'm thinking in my head 1E and 2E and like that. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and right? So always try and think of the 16th notes while you're playing. So that's another trick here. All right, let's take a look at the second line. The second line is pretty simple. It's A, double up bows, like that. So C stop, the bow, A, and then same thing. F, da 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 da, 1E and So it's very important that you're always counting at least the 8th notes, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and da dee da dee da. And da dun 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 da 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 bum bum bum. At least feel the every 8th notes, right? And this is why it's important to have a metronome, so you don't have to imagine the beats. You can have something external, something that's actually very steady. So I highly recommend using a metronome for this part. Play it very slowly. Learn this part very slowly. You wanna be comfortable playing this. All right, so let's do this one more time. This section: 1 and 2 and 3 and go. So that's how you practice this part. Let's now take a look at the last section. Alright, so the notes on this is not that difficult, but the bowing is bow control, once again, bow string crossing, so just like that. So you play 3 on D string and then 1 note on the G string, right? So trying to coordinate that, especially with the 4th finger, is kind of difficult. So let's just play it slowly. So 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and da 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 da. These are staccatos, right? And long. And Alright, so that's how this part sounds. Let me just explain this once again. If you think your left hand is giving you troubles, just take the slurs out. And just practice it with the separate bow. Like that, right? And then what you can do is do 2 per bow. So you can kinda, and do it slowly, so you can kind of observe what you're doing. You can see what your bow is doing, and just think of it like doing it in slow motion. So practice it slowly, that part. Second line is a little bit trickier. not, well, actually no. Because you play all the 16th notes on one string. Oh, this one though. Like that, same thing. Kind of focus on the last note of, think of it like, if you think of it like that, same thing with the first one. Da 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 dum, da 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 dum, or D with the D, D D D, da 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 dum, da 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 da. So if you can just isolate the bow movement, da 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 da. So here is really the problem with the bow. So and let me just quickly explain how to do the bow change with for the pizzicato, right? So what I like to do is I flip my bow up like this, so you have it straight up. And then what I do is I try and lift up my first finger like this. I just point. And as I'm letting go of the thumb like this, I'm starting to grip the bow with these three fingers, right? And I'm making a V sign, a check mark. Like this. So, and then to get back to the bow grip, what you do is you wrap your first finger, take your thumb around like this, and then try and roll it back. So you're also straight up like this once again. Let's try that one more time. Lift your first finger like this. Curl up your third with these three fingers. Try and make a fist still with the first finger out. And then make a V check mark, a hand pistol. And then to get back, what you do is wrap your first finger around again. Bring your thumb and then roll the bow like this. So practice that a couple of times. Let's do it one more time. Lift up your first finger or make a fist first and then make a V and then play and then make a fist again, bring your thumb around the bow, and then like that. Alright, so get used to doing that because you have to do that fast. So that's a tricky part, but it's really not too bad. You'll get used to it. If it's hard to do that, you can also just, instead of making a pincher like this, you can just lift up your first finger, and then when you play the first one, have your finger stop on the C string like that. That's another thing you can do. Or if you want to pluck individually, you can do that with the thumb on the side here. But if you don't want to do the change, you can just play, and then have the finger stop on the C string like that. All right. So that's all the different techniques that's required for this piece. Practice it slowly. They're very detail oriented. It's all about the bow. Remember that. It's all about the bow. So now let's take a look at the whole thing together. And I'll write a couple of the notes. Just 1 second. So let's write bow control, staccato, let's write gritty beginnings. String crossing. On the 16th notes. So those are the main two things we should think about. Let's just mark the phrase. So the yellow phrase here. Purple phrase. And then the blue phrase. Alright, so we're going to play through it slowly all the way through. Let's we're just going to play one time how it's shown on the page. So just read how it's written. Let's not do the repeats for now, mainly because I'm going to explain a couple of things. Alright, so remember, try and do the staccatos. And we're going to just read through everything. No repeats, okay? Slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and go. And. Stop. And rest. Prepare. And smooth, and extension, and rest. Keep on going. Purple phrase, short and long, and rest, and staccato. Rest and keep on going. Light blue. And 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 40 and up, up. 20 and keep on going. Pizzicato. Alright, let's take a breather for a second. And let me just explain a couple of things here. So, the first 4 lines, the first 2 phrases, the yellow and purple phrase, those are pretty straightforward. Here, this means slow down slightly. Tempo means tempo from normal tempo. So that's just what that means. Rit is for retardando, which is to gradually slow down, right? You're kind of putting brakes on things. A tempo means get back to the original tempo that you were playing. All right, I'm gonna explain what this means in a bit. Okay. Più cantable means very singing like. So that's what that means. And then let me explain what this means now. Let's go with green. So DC al fine. So DC means da capo. I'll write it out. So this really means da capo al fine. So da capo means we're gonna go back to the beginning. So we're gonna go back to the beginning until here. Right? So da capo means go back to the beginning of the piece. Al fine means until fine. So that's what the fine at the green mark means. So that's what that means. Let's just try and play through it a little bit faster. And let's just play it without the da capo. Let's just play how it's written on the page. Same thing what we did. Just playing through the every phrase just once without the repeats. Let's just do it slightly faster. So dun 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 taka 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 taka. Let's go that fast. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and ready go and rest. 1 and 2 and 3 and rest and keep on going. Purple phrase. light blues, very singing, like an opera singer, right? Do-di-do-di-do, very singing. Da-da-da-dee. Blue phrase, da 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 da, and the, and rest. Hits. All right. So normally we will go back to da capo, right, to the beginning of the piece, and play it through until fine. But for time's sake, we're not doing that right now. Let's see. There were a couple of things I was gonna write. Oh yeah. Left elbow higher. So left elbow higher meaning you kind of lift up like this to reach over to the C strings, right? Imagine you're giving someone a hug like this. That's what I imagine, except you're just kind of like that. Try to keep the wrist flat here. Don't try and have a crook or like this. Try to keep it flat. That's one thing. What? Okay. Another thing I was gonna mention was if you know how to do vibrato, on all quarter notes. So, maybe not the without staccato. So if the quarter note doesn't have a staccato, try and do vibrato, like. This applies especially in the più cantable, the light blue phrase. So. Right. So try and vibrate on the quarter notes that doesn't have the staccato markings. Let's see what else. I think for this piece, those are the main things I wanted to go over. So now let's just play with the accompaniment one more time, and we'll call it a day for this piece, for this lesson. All right. All right. So let's play through from the beginning. So remember that with the accompaniment, what we're going to do is we're going to play all the repeats first time through, right? So the first phrase, we're going to repeat it. The third and fourth phrase, we're going to repeat them. When we play once again as a da capo, we're not going to do the repeats. So second time through, when we play through as a da capo, we're not going to play. Da capo al fine, we're not going to play the repeats. All right. Ready? Let's go. So that's gonna be it for today. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions or comments, just drop a line and I'll try and get back to it. So remember, practice slowly. This piece is all about bow control, so take your time with it. It's a little bit tricky. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next week. Happy practicing. Bye.